Evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Can you all see and hear me? Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. And don't forget to share because sharing is crucially important. There's a few things I'm going to go through tonight. I'm also going to thank Ancient, who has sent me a little letter, and I'm really grateful for the gift. And there's a few things I'll be talking about tonight. So before we get stuck into this, hopefully there's a few people watching on YouTube. Let's see what goes on there. Let's have a look. Don't forget to come out there. I don't think I've shared this properly, only because I haven't been in that long. But we are live on all platforms, I believe. Well, Rumble, at YouTube and Twitter. Little Miss Shire. Hi, Dee Dee and Janet. Someone said hello, Janet.
Hello, good evening.
Say it, go on.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world.
And there you go, see, she's got it off to a T. I wake it up in the morning, she says that to me. Dee Dee, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Let's have a look. Anyone out there? Jason, how you doing? There is some interesting things I'm going to share tonight. Some of it, I'm going to try and do a bit more about this. But before I do, I'm going to try and share this. I wonder if John Godley Harding is actually watching at the moment. Because there's a bit of a story to this. So I'm going to share this. Hopefully you're going to be able to watch it. Where am I? Not that one. That one. Hopefully it goes up and comes up on the screen. Let's see if this. I don't know if you can hear this properly. Give me a thing and tell me if you can hear and see it.
John, you're not going to believe this, but I am actually at the waterfall that you described perfectly of your childhood. There it is. I'm sitting right by it. I've got to tell you something. It was an absolute feat getting down here. But this has got to be one of the most gorgeous places on planet Earth, right? When I say it's like going to Jurassic Park, trying to get it out, that's exactly what it's like. And now I'm going to show you the view from the other side. That is the exact opposite view of where I am, right? One of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. And just to let you know, that sea out there is perfectly calm at the moment. But by the way, as far as I know, it's one of the places that you can drop anchor free of charge in England. Unlike Scotland, there's many places in Scotland on a yacht you can drop anchor and the Crown don't charge you. Here they do, right? And it's one of the things I believe need to be stopped. But there it is.
And what I'm going to hope to do is see if let me come off.
John, you know.
And what I'm going to go back to is come off of that. Shut up. Telling myself to shut up there. Right, so there's a few more videos there. I'm not sure if I've been sent any more. I probably have. But John, this is one of the places. I'm not sure if I can bring that up. If you can even see it. This place here. So if John Godley Harding is watching this, which I am sure he is, I'll try and show you a couple of bits. But this place, so just to give you a better view, and then it's got 1907 written in to the entrance of it. It looks like some sort of chapel, or it could have been a school building, I don't know. but you walk down and get there. Let's have a look and see if I can show it a bit more. You might be able to recognise it. There it is, 1907. And there it is, the building. Let's see if I can go and find some more. Again, it's some. That's one of the views. Just to make sure you're clear on it. So we're now walking down a massive hill. What John didn't tell us is you need to be a frigging mountain climber. And the reason why there's no one there, really, is because it's so difficult to get to, right? You have to be reasonably fit to get down there and reasonably fit to get back up. When I say that it was an incline like that, right, coming back, you're almost climbing a cliff to get back. It's certainly a gorgeous spot. Let me just make sure. What I don't want to do is show. There's a building that literally is up there. I'm not sure if I can show you.
There'd be King's Cottage right in the corner, and as you walk down there, there's the sea, and all you can see is this beautiful view.
Now that little building in front of you, what you're seeing there, that is where two famous painters used to live and paint there, and they got inspiration. Those great painters. Well, on the front of the door, if you are a painter, they sometimes let you stay there for respite, or to give you inspiration, which was, I thought that was quite a nice thing. It's owned by a trust. I remember what I said before. There's that building again. Let's see if I can find you some more stuff. What I don't want is so you can see there is that's literally. Now that river stream, whatever it is, comes all the way along, and you can follow it along, and then it comes out and it hits that, comes straight down, and then it follows a path all the way to the sea. So in, I don't know, a million years' time, that could even be the mouth of a river by the time it finally gets there. Let me go back to this again. 1, 2, that one there. What's the next one? Not sure. Let's see if I can bring this up.
There you go, John. The waterfall at Bucks Mills is still there.
And I did do some more little videos for John. I've done a little bit, but you couldn't hear it properly. There was another video there you couldn't hear properly. Let's see if I can go. Is that a 9-second one? That might have been. No, there was another video. It won't be that one. That was a longer one. There's some more on there. What? Why are they not on there? Oh, right. I've got some more on the bottom there. That was 39. But I'm not sure that you could hear this. But I'll put it up on the screen. I've got to say something. It is absolutely. Oh, not that one. That one. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. There's me looking like a fat bastard, right? Here, I don't know how good this is going to be.
John Godley Harding. Me and Janet are now at Bucks Mills with your favourite stream coming straight over the waterfall. This area here is absolutely gorgeous, and we used to play as a kid. We'd be taken to school on a horse, on a family horse. It would take you to school, and then the horse would turn up at school, pick you up, jump on its back and go back. So we are now at that area that you used to play 80 years ago. There you go. But don't forget, there it is. Thank you.
Stop sharing. It is mad, isn't it? Now, let's have a look at this. Let's go and have a look and see if there's anyone on there. All right, that's where John learnt to swim at Bucks Mills. Keep an eye on Okay. Let's have a quick look. See what goes on there. Let's have a quick look. Everyone's out there. Right. So now I'm going to show you something. Who's that? John Harding said, I learned to swim at Bucks Mills. I've just read it out there. Well done, John. So take it you saw it. There's some more little ones there, but we just took some photos. Right, so telling you the funny side of it, we found this place. John, I had to go because I've got acute glaucoma or acute angle glaucoma, right? So they've drilled a hole in that eye and a hole in that eye, and that check the pressures on my eyes, which have come down. But I've got to take some medication every night in my eyes. They said for the rest of your life, right? And if you don't do that, you'll end up, they said, damaging the optical nerve. And you end up having no peripheral vision, and you looking through a tiny little pinhole. You know, when people are looking like that and they're looking at things, that's basically. And what they've said is because they've done this test, that's what they're actually doing. So, getting back to John Harding, and I'll tell you what, I really love talking to John, right? Although, yeah, I know everyone says I'm busy. Sometimes I mean a conversation I had on the phone today was for 2 hours. The other day, if it was someone else, was for an hour and 40 minutes. Sometimes you have to explaining certain things to people and talking to people. But John is one of the people that I actually enjoy talking to because he comes from Devon. His family come from Devon. He don't live there anymore, lives in Leicestershire. But that's where John grew up as a child, right? And learnt, like he said, he learnt to swim there, right? And he told me the story that when he went to school, his family horse, bareback, I believe, right, used to come out the front of his cottage. They put him on the back of the horse, and the horse would walk along to. It was a fit. Listen, let me tell you something. That you don't want to be doing too much walking around unless you're pretty fit around this area, right? But the horse used to then take him to school. He'd get off the horse with his books, go into school, and then the horse used to trot back to the house, carry on doing. And then they would tell the horse to go and pick him up from school, and the horse would come along to the school and just be sitting outside waiting for him. Like it's like the old way of picking your kids up from the school. They plonk him on the horse, and it'll take him back home. Or if that's not the whole story, I'm sure one day John will come on and tell us the story, right? But he said to me, go and have a look at that Brock's Cross, which is the village just outside Bideford. And he said, try and get to Brock's Mill. And then he said, there's this beautiful on the beach. He said, there's like a waterfall, right? And he said, you got to see it. It's lovely. There's kids that used to play in it, get freezing cold water and all that. And that's literally where we went today. So if you think, I don't know how old John is, I think he's 83, whatever. If you took, I don't know, 6 years off of that. What's that? 77 years ago, and it hasn't changed, right? In fact, there's a stone, right? It's just shaped like that, but in front of that waterfall, which is like a seat, right? So I've sat down on this seat, and then Janet's screaming because all she's got is flip flops on, right? And I'm sort of looking over, seeing her coming towards me, trying to. And I said, "Look, don't go on the big rocks, go on the smaller ones, the smaller walk on the pebbles." Oh, I'm going to break my effing neck getting over it. And she got over to me in the end, right? So I said, "You got to come here." And she went, "Oh, what?" She got there in the end, right? I said, "It's important that you get here." And she said, "What?" And then she got to me like that. And she went, "What?" I said, "I've got a seat for you." I got up, and this rock is shaped like a seat. I said, "You can have my chair." She went, "Oh, thank you." She sat in this thing. It's got a back to it and everything. You're just sitting there, and then there's a stone in front of it, right? So you put your foot on the stone, and you can just see out to sea for miles. It's lovely, right? That's where I was doing that video, and then showing behind, and then out to sea. But the funny thing is that I would only imagine that rock was there when John was there, right? It appears to be a completely natural formation of a rock, right? It's just shaped like a seat, right? And you just sit there. So it was funny. Let me have a look and see anything else that's coming up there. Let's go and have a look. Then don't know what that is. YouTube, right? So there's some good stuff up there. Now, getting back, let's have a look. Yeah, no, I've got that. So yeah, no, keep on. I'm not going to say anything about what's the Devon seat. I doubt very much if John Harding, he said that seat was there. Yeah, so 70 years ago that seat was there, right? And so as I've said that, he's probably saying, "I remember that seat because we used to sit in it, right? It's like a rock that's shaped like a seat." And I got up as a gentleman does and said, "Janet, you can have my seat."
I've got something for you.
But it was an absolutely stunning place. But again, to get there, when I say it was like that, I knew I was going to have trouble coming back up because when your legs are hurting going down, you can imagine what it's like coming back up, right? When I say it was like that, right? Let's see if it was like that, right? Up like that, right? I was like, you're literally walking up a cliff, and although someone had left a chair on this other bit, I'd only walked up a little bit of it. I'm so pleased they left this chair behind. I'm sitting in a chair, so there's people walking down looking at me thinking I've brought a chair with me. Well, I hadn't, right? I just nicked this chair from it, sat down like that, and Janet was laughing. We was taking photos of each other, right? And then we carried on getting up there. But honestly, getting back up it, when I say I was sweating, right, and I said to Janet, "Is this hard work or is it me?" And he went, "No, this is hard work." Right? Marching up, you wouldn't have done it. I don't. If you were smoking, do you think you would have struggled with that one? If you were still smoking,
Probably a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, but it was hard, wasn't it?
It was hard.
It was funny.
You
So
had to take your
when we finally gets back to the car in this car and some of the area that you drive through to get there, you would never know this place was there. By the way, all right, it was all covered over. But John, he's telling me on the phone, if you go down this road and you turn up at this one, and as you go down, you'll see 3 white cottages that are set back slightly, right? And because he's thinking in Devon head, right? His lingo's come back, right? So he's rocking with his R's, right? More than what he usually does, right? So I'm listening to him, and he said, "There's 3 old cottages on the right hand side, and then you turn right there. They're set back from the road slightly. There was 3 white cottages, right? So I said, we're coming up to this right hand turn, right? And I've done this thing, and then you go all through it. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful, right? We actually said this is just gorgeous, right? I don't want to be horrible, but John said to me, "Did you meet any of my family or ancestors there?" And I've got to be honest with you, John. You could tell that most of the people there were middle class twats. Coming in, and I think that's probably, it's just the way it is now. That's my opinion. Anyone not liking the fact that I don't like middle class twats, don't worry about it too much. I forgot what with rushing to get onto chat, right? Let me have a look. So John should be still out there, but it was absolutely superbly breathtaking. John said to me, "Go there if you're around that area, Bedford. Just go there because it's lovely and you'll love it." And he said, "I used to play there when I was a kid, and all around that area. That's where I come from." So we went there, and then I've done some little videos and took some pictures, and I said I'd put it on the show. And then I spoke to John. He rang me this afternoon, and I couldn't answer because I was driving. But then I missed the call, so I rang him back just before the show, and he said, "Did you go there?" I said, "I won't spoil it, John, but just watch the show tonight, and you'll see." And so hopefully, no, John is watching. He's already said, and it's still there. But I just think it's superb. Some of the areas in Devon, and then just as you drive out of that area, Bideford, and carry on, you've got Great Torrington. Well, Great Torrington and Torrington is the area that they're putting it 800 acres. They're putting this the second largest AI data center in Europe, right smack in the middle of the most beautiful part of Devon, right? I've already spoke to a few people about it, but I can't remember how many million did we say it was? Was it 2 billion it come to? It was some ridiculous amount of money, wasn't it?
More than that. I think it's 14, wasn't it? 14 billion.
Or was it 14 billion?
I'm sure it was.
It was something like 14. It was 14 billion. And what I've said to a few people, you do understand that 100 million to them set aside for legal costs against just normal people, right? 100 million, they will think nothing of putting 100 million to one side. And these dirty, corrupt, stinking, corrupt, so-called legal professionals, right? Barristers, lawyers, judges, solicitors, right? Whatever you want to describe them as, they'll take their coin and destroy that part of Devon, right? Because that's who they are. They're dirty, stinking criminals, right? And I don't want anyone to be in any doubt whatsoever what I think of the legal profession. I think that the majority of them people are the cause of the issues we're in now, and need to be fucking hung, drawn, and quartered as traitors to this country, right? That is my opinion of the legal profession in this country, right? And it's only people like me and who actually read real law, not these fucking idiots out there. You have to excuse me, because when I start thinking about that fucking data center and them destroying, and again, what they'll do is try and destroy people like me, because I'm telling you what the real law is, right? So I will get on to the next subject, so I don't get too over anxious. Jim, why can't I post on the chat on the show? I don't know what he's saying. Jim from Northern Ireland, you can post in the chat. Don't forget, sometimes it's not. It can be that you're not logged into Rumble, probably. Who said that? Ace Chase, British establishment scum, they let it go. Let me have a look and see, because I want to go on to my next subject in a minute. As they need to shout bollocks. Yeah, let me. I'm going to mute for a second. That's what I mean. People. What I want. They're not very nice people. Ace Chase, we the English are truly under the English Constitution and common law. Yeah, there was a few things I saw today, John Harding. This brought a tear to my eye. Oh, John Harding said it brought a tear to my eye. Let me say something, John. It was. I'll tell you what. I know life was harder when you was younger. And it was for my dad as well. Don't get me wrong, right? But being in a natural environment and being brought up like that, I can sort of tell why you're such a genuine, grounded person, right? Because that place is God's garden. It is stunning, and I love the sea, right? I mean, I can't express to people enough how much I love the sea. To me, the sea is like the beating heart, or the consciousness, or the lungs of Earth. It is so vital, and it is so gorgeous in a way it is, and it is unforgiving. If you get caught in a wrong situation with the sea, it is pure nature, right? And it is the law of nature that operates at sea, right? Get caught in the wrong place, you're gone. So just to make sure everyone's got that, let me have a quick look. England up, right? So what I'm trying to do now is show you something else. Let me have a look.
It was special knowing that John had been there as well when he was a kid,
Huh?
and it was nice being there, knowing that it was John's place.
Yeah, no, it was nice being there, knowing that John had grown up there. What did you say when I said John Godley Harding? You said.
I said, John, you are Godley Harding.
All right. So Janet said, John, you are Godley Harding. Right. So just to let you know, it was wonderful, and I'm really pleased that I got there. John Harding said, "Can I come on your show?" I haven't got the proper setup for a mic, John. Otherwise, I would do it. Not even sure if I could bring it. I couldn't bring it up without. I can't bring all of that up, but I will get you on to talk about it, and I'll bring the pictures back up when you're on. Let me have a look and see if there's something else I want to pull up there. There is something else, and I've got to go and bleed and find it. Where's he gone? Oh, there it is. But what I don't want to do is show too much of this on there, right? What I don't want to do is bring this up, right? So one of our members and a personal friend, right, has purchased this book, right? I mean, I've got to bring it up, like, unless I can send the photos over to the other way. I don't think I can. Constitutional documents, or the constitutional documents of the Puritan Revolution, 1625 to 1660, selected and edited. Samuel Wilson Gardner is one of the most famous people who wrote the original and told you what this was, right? And this was a book written in 1909, right? And what I'm going to do is take you, and it goes all through the access of this. This is a 1909 book. I'm going to read you this out because I think it's important, right? This is the actual warrant, the death warrant of Charles I. Don't know how many of you have ever read this, but I'm going to put it out there for everyone to see it, right? So, January the 29th, 1948, Rushworth, and it tells you where it comes from, Civil War, see the Great Civil War, right? At the High Court of Justice for the trying and judging of Charles Stuart, King of England, January the 29th, Anno Domini 1648. Whereas Charles Stuart, King of England, is and standeth convicted, attainted, and condemned of high treason and other high crimes, and sentence upon Saturday last was pronounced against him by this court, to be put to death by the severing of his head from his body, of which sentence execution yet remaineth to be done. These are therefore to will and require you to see the said sentence executed in open street before Whitehall upon the morrow, being the 13th day of this instant month of January, between the hours of 10 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon of the same day, with full effect. And for so doing, this shall be your sufficient warrant. And these are to require all officers, soldiers, and others, the good people of this nation of England, to be assisting unto you in this service. To Colonel Francis Hacker, fancy calling the colonel who's going to chop his head off Hacker, right? Colonel Hunks and Lieutenant Colonel Fay, and to every of them, given under our hand and sealed, John Bradshaw, Thomas Gray, Oliver Cromwell, etc., etc. Right. So just to let you know, that is the actual death warrant. What I'm going to do now is show you something else. And then it tells you all about the treason stuff. I think, I'm not sure if this is the right one, and whereas the just lawful defence raised in the army. Might be the next one. I think this is the one that I wanted to show you, right? And by the way, Jason is actually sending me this book because he said, I want you to have it. And we can, because we can go by the original. But there's part of this I want to read out to you. I think it's very, don't forget, this is prior to the Restoration, and then you had a Restoration where it went pear-shaped again, and then you had the Glorious Revolution. So it's what I'm trying to do is show you that the Cromwell, the Cromwell interregnum, right, is linked, right. I do. I'm going to, once I say this, I'm going to get there to you. Right, this is part of what I said. I do, in the presence and by the name of God Almighty, promise and swear that to the uttermost of my power, I will uphold and maintain the true Reformed Protestant Christian religion in the purity thereof, as it is contained in the Holy Scriptures of the Old and New Testament, and encourage. So some people have said to me, I'm going to read this out in full, but I've got to say this. Some people have said to me, he's all about the. He was all about the Old Testament. He was nothing, he was a Puritan. He wouldn't have anything to do with it. That's not what he's saying here, right? And this is what was actually said, right? But I'm going to get to the bits where you should all understand this. New Testament and duly calls Parliaments to be summoned and called, and that I will not willingly or I will not wittingly or willingly violate nor infringe the liberties and privileges of Parliament, or any of the matters or things contained in the Acts of Parliament declaring and settling the government of the Commonwealth of England, Scotland, and Ireland, and will in all things, to the best of my understanding, govern according to the laws, statutes, customs, and liberties of the people of these nations. Right? At no time ever did Cromwell refer to Britain as a nation. He referred to Scotland, Ireland, and England as separate nations, right? And will seek their peace and welfare according to those laws, customs, and liberties, and cause justice and law to be equally and duly administered. That immediately after the death of every Lord Protector and after the election of a succeeding Lord Protector, a Parliament be summoned to meet. If a Parliament to be not then sitting, or not to meet within 4 months by force of this Act, or not then already summoned, that the exercise of the chief magistracy over the Commonwealth and the people thereof shall be in the Lord Protector assisted with the council, the exercise of which power shall be according to the respective laws and customs of these and customs of these nations of England, Scotland, and Ireland, and the dominions thereunto belonging. Right, dominions. Right, not colonies. Colonies didn't come about until the British. Right, and this was well before the British even existed. Do you understand what I've just read out to you? So there's that information. There's more bits in there. Let's have. I'm going to have to turn off the bleeper because you're all going to get mute tab. You're all going to get banged. What's this one? I've ordered another one. So he's sending me that one. But all I want is people to understand what that was. What was that one there? 429 Council declaring and settling the government and Commonwealth of England. Declaring and settling. Where do them words come from? So when you start looking at the Glorious Revolution, and as Lions Under the Throne tells you, basically everything that Cromwell put in place, it was then taken down by the Restoration. We then went. We was going into another civil war, and the Glorious Revolution solved the problem. We had a negotiation. They said, right, this is what it is, and then you had the Act of Settlement after that. So that whole period is really important in our history, which is one of the things that. But you have to understand what happened in the background and what they was doing. Just to let all my brothers and sisters know that poor Audrey is renewing her marriage vows to me again on the 9th of August. God, mother. Audrey. So Jim and Audrey, they're renewing their wedding vows on the 9th of August. God bless the pair of you, is the answer. Goonamum, yes, the colonies caused all the ag, stayed in Camelot Castle Hotel, fantastic area. Who was that? Lee Gould. Thumbnails look like Tinga Gel. I recently stayed in Camelot Castle Hotel, fantastic area. Just to make sure everyone understands this, I won't say anything. I'll wait until someone else comes on the show and they can tell you about it. Where can we send stuff to you? Do you mean physically send me stuff? You're better off going, depending what it is, you're better off speaking. There's an email address in there. You're probably better off going through going to the English Constitution Society.co.uk, or if Mr. and Mrs. English put their email address out there, and then depends what you're sending. But I'm just making sure. But so again, I just want to make sure everyone's aware of this. Let's get back to this in a minute, and I won't be distracted by the chat as much as I should be. But let me just say this to you. That other book that I've got, and I'm not sure if I can bring it up on the screen on this one. I don't think I can. Which is Lions Under the Throne, which is a fantastic read. And I've got a physical copy of it here somewhere, and I still don't know what it is. I think Janet's hid it from me.
I've hunted high and low for it. I can't find it.
Can't find it anyway, but it must be here somewhere. The point I'm trying to make is that what that judge says, and it's an ex-appeal court judge of something like 20 odd years or 24 years or whatever he was an appeal court judge for. There was a number of things. So everyone keeps saying Cromwell let the Jews in. Cromwell let the Jews back in, right? The Jews was already in Scotland, because when we banished them in 1290 for being professional criminals and nearly destroying our economy, right? So it was about organised crime. It wasn't the fact they was Jews. It was just the fact that the Jews are the ones who was doing it. They was using their skill sets in creating this coinage. There's a whole story to that. That's what I mean. If you go for a one-liner, it turns out there's a 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour story about everything that happened with it, right? Because it's a big part of history, and because we're 1100 years old, it's not easy to get everything across, to tell people the absolute truth. But someone sent me a message on Twitter and said that Cromwell let the Jews back in, and I said you need to be careful in acknowledging fake history, right? The Jews was already here, right, when Cromwell was in, but they weren't allowed to live as openly as what they were in other European countries. Cromwell did not give them any privileges. They weren't denizens. They were treated as aliens. They weren't, even if they was born here. They were not treated as denizens. They weren't treated as citizens of England. They was completely treated as aliens, right? Scotland was in the time of this in 1290, when the edict come along to banish them, because they was corrupt to the core, because they was robbing us, because they was destroying the economy, right? Scotland was a separate nation, and it had its own executive and its own monarchy, right? So Scotland was as much a different nation as France was. Well, the Jews, when they was kicked out, went to Scotland, some went to Ireland, and most went to, if I remember rightly, France and Germany, right? So when Cromwell come in, whilst he lifted the edict, he did not give them any special privilege, right? Most of Europe was giving them royal privilege because they were funding the royalty, because they're doing all these things. He went, no, you're not getting any special privilege in England, all right? He also didn't allow. Let me have a look. I need to look at something on my screen. Okay. He didn't. So again, without getting into the detail, people are being drawn in, right, to what I describe as fake history, right? And by the way, a lot of this information, if you went and actually read it yourself in the archives, it gives a completely different story to what the British are giving you, right? It's a bit like Nazi Germany. David Irving actually went and spoke to not only Hitler's personal secretary, right, but all the people who personally worked with Hitler. And he got all the right information. None of them was telling lies. They was just telling, but it was being misrepresented. It was propaganda. right? And that's what you're getting currently. Don't believe the bullshit. Which is one of the reasons why I always say to people, whilst AI is full of fake history, Mr. Lomas, you're absolutely right there. AI is full of fake history. People that say to me, that's not correct, blah, blah, blah. And I said, where'd you get that from? I asked AI, right? But then they say to me, well, you ask AI. I said, no. What I do, I know the answer. I'll ask a question and I'll phrase the question in a certain way because you have to phrase it absolutely bang on for AI. Otherwise, it will give you a different answer, right? And you phrase the question and then it comes back. You know what the answer is. It's a bit like using a calculator. And so many times it's come back with a wrong answer. And I said that, and I've said to Janet, that's completely up bollocks. And then you put down certain things and put it back, and they go, yeah. And then it will say, oh, yeah, sorry, I was incorrect, right? Because it will go and check something else. All it's doing is it scrapes all the lefty websites. Wikipedia is where it's mainly getting its information from. It's the most fucking lefty thing out there. It's corrupted AI, right? And I'm telling you now. So books like, let me show this. Like this is, I'm not going to show you in detail because you've already seen it a minute. That book there, right? AI is going around, right? AI, and they're buying these old books like that, right? They're guillotining the backs off, scanning the pages, and then scrapping that book. That particular book has been available since when? I said it before. This one's 1908. I think it is. Let's have a look. University. This one's 1901. All right. This one's 1901. Oh, first published in 1904. So this book is 1904. Right. You can tell. Right, how old it is. Have a look at it. Right. And what they're doing is cutting the backs off. And then there's anything in there that if there's anything in there, have a look at that. Select statutes, cases, and documents that illustrate cases as well, right? Documents that illustrate English constitutional history. So you're only getting the cases from there that are constitutional, right? So the equivalent for us in the last, I don't know, 50 years, most prevalent one was probably the Metric Martyrs case, Thornton versus Sunderland, right, 2002, with Sir John Laws, where he's actually spelt out there is a hierarchy of law in this country, right? So all I'm saying to you is them books. There's another one there. What's that one there? Well, they'll cut the backs off and they get it. So you're not getting a real history. Then all of a sudden, someone like me comes along, right? And I'll just give you another example, right? And again, like you're the ones helping me. When you help fund me or give me and gift me, right? I ain't gone out and bought a fucking. Not that the gifts have been that large, but I haven't gone out and bought a fucking villa in Spain. Right? I still drive a 21-year-old car that was gifted to me 8-10 years ago. Right? I've maintained it correctly. Me and Janet was talking about that today. Talking about different vehicles, and as long as you put oil and water in them, they'll just go on forever, right? Religiously. But this book here, right, is the Constitutional History of England, right? This one in particular is volume 3, right? And it started to go a little bit. You can see the spine's broke. It's like it's got dandruff, right? There it is there, right? Constitutional History of England. This is an original. If I told you, so that the Constitutional History of England from the accession to Henry VII to the death of George II by Henry Hallam, LLD, France, foreign associate of the Institute of France, 7th edition, in 3 volumes. I've got all 3 volumes, right? London, John. This one's in 1854, right? So this one's from 1854. These 3 volumes is what A.V. Dicey read and there's a couple of other bits that I've got up on there. So all I'm doing is telling you, right, that what I've got there and what I read. There's another one that would be obvious here.
This one's 1808.
Who?
1808.
Show me that one.
That's the one I got to repair.
What one's that? Yeah, this. So this one is what? 1808.
1808.
1708.
18.
Because there's one there from 1700. So Constitution of England by George Custance, third edition, improved and enlarged. This one's 1808. Right. So what they're doing is grabbing these, right, and then slaughtering them. So you're never going to get once they digitize that information, which is what they're doing, and they're using these massive. And again, think of what it's almost a double insult. Right? They take a gorgeous place and something so crucial to the history of England, such as Devon, right, and the Glorious Revolution, and Brixham, the Prince of Orange, etc., right? And then they stick the second biggest AI data center in Europe, 800 acres, right? They reckon you can hear this thing humming for 30 miles, right? It's got, I can't remember how much water, I've got all the information on it. And I looked at it and I thought, why would they stick that in Devon? Why? And again, the amount of people that have moved into Devon, oh, that's wonderful, right? They're just going to destroy us. What one's that one?
This one here. This I think this is really old. 1795.
1795. Right. So there's another one that's 17. So that's calf leather, right? Don't forget, I actually read these. It's not as if. So and that one is, and that's a treatise on law of elections, right? So and what they don't like, yeah, is me going into. Let me see if I can bring that one up a second, because I think that's important that you should see that. This is why, you know when I won in the appeal court and I won technically the judicial review part, right? And then and I won the appeal 3-0, right? So what I'm gonna do is show you this, right? It's important that you see this because, and there's another book I've got here which is really important, and people don't understand how important these old books are. They're not expecting you to produce these books, right, and show you. Touch wood, that will click into gear. Let's see if I can change my camera. That one there. Hopefully that comes up on the screen, right? So there, on the screen, there it is, right? So let's get it down a bit further so you can see it, right? So just to make sure you can see it, that's calf's leather, right? You can see how much of that I've gone through Henry Potts. This is one of the books that I used in the High Court, right? A treatise on the law of elections. This was an expert in the law of elections, right? By John Simeon, Esquire, Lincoln Inn Barrister at Law, second edition, corrected and enlarged, right? London, printed by A. Stranham, law printer, and the King's Most Excellent Majesty, 4 J. Butler, Worth in Fleet Street, right? 1795, right? And there is another book I've got here. It's really old. I can't remember which one it is, right? But just to make sure you understand this, there's bits in here. So all I do is show you this so you know I ain't making it up. Election has been electures. Hang on, let's go back into this. Should be avoided, and it's got different parts for Scotland. Nothing more strongly anxiety of legislature preserve the freedom of election. Right, so it tells you here. Right, they absolutely do not like people like me. Right, telling this is the real law of the game. Right, courts. invalidate the election. Nothing more strongly shows the anxiety of the legislature to preserve the freedom of election than forbidding under penalty even the solicitation of votes by any person employed in managing any part of the excise or customs, right? There is a resolution also, the House of Commons, that it's high infringement of the liberties and privileges of the Commons of Great Britain for any Lord or Parliament or Lieutenant of County to concern themselves in the election of members or to serve in Parliament, right? There's a load more in here, but it says reason of justice. Let me see if I can find the election thus having produced. Right, there's so much in this book. There was key parts in this that I brought up. Let me bring this one up. Held in St Ives Shaftesbury. The doubt, the sanction. The next question of the vote. This is about bribery. There are principal causes avoiding election, which are following principle that elections should be free. Upon the preservation of this vital principle, not only the prosperity but the very existence of the state as a free state depends. Right. So if you start interfering with an election, there is no free state. Which is one of, and by the way, when you go through these old books, right, and there is so much to it. I'm not just saying that, right? So that again, that's a really old book. Right, let's go back to my camera. Let's see if I can pull that back over. We'll pull that back over there for a second. Right. The reason I've showed you it's just that when we got AI chopping these books up, and it is very, very. I believe that, and that's the ultimate in censorship, and they're depriving you of the knowledge. So you get someone like me. I'm out there telling you, right, what your rights are. My main ploy is to educate you enough so you can stand up in front of a judge and say, listen, this is written in law. Why are you none of you barristers standing up for us? The Bill of Rights, isn't just about free speech in Parliament. It says all and singular. All of these rights are mine, right? What are you doing? So that's the key element to it, right? John Aspel. These so-called data centers use so much electricity they need extra generators. At this moment in time, there's a 5-year waiting time. China can't make them quick enough. Actually, the one data center in Devon would need 8% of the entire electricity for England. 8%. Just so you know how big it is. Nosy poke. Hello. Good evening. Right. So, what did I get to on that? I was talking about why did I bring up the books?
Oh, because you were saying the book that Jason was sending you, and that when people give you money, you.
Yeah. So when people give, people can see. All I do is read through these books, right? And there's a couple more I've got to go and try and get at the moment, which I need to get Janet to remind me. I'll look at her and say, you're supposed to be making notes. Interregnum. So everyone should understand. That's it. That's what I do. I was looking up the other night how much tax. I've told you this on the show before. How much tax barristers get, right? So it's not unusual for a tax barrister to get £2,500 an hour, right? So even if I was a paralegal, right, and I am a paralegal, and I said my fee, I say our fee is £1,800 or £996 now, because that's how many other people have died since 1990 in police custody, right? but it's also the level. There is no one else doing what I'm doing. There's no one standing up, and what they've done is created a monopoly, right? And just to make sure everyone's aware, I've said this on the show, I think the other night, right? That part of the reason why Cromwell kicked off and the Civil War happened was because of the corruption of the legal system. And basically everyone had enough of being robbed by parasites. They were basically gangsters in wigs and gowns, right? And people have had enough of it, right? So there were a handful of good barristers and lawyers, and they were the common law. They were called common lawyers, and they was out of the Inns of Court. But now even the Inns of Court has created a situation that a common lawyer, a real common lawyer like me, right, who only talks about the Constitution, constitutional history, constitutional cases, and the protection of the subject and the subject's rights, not the crown servants, but you, right? That they have enabled and enacted laws that create a monopoly for a corrupt legal profession. So everything's come about face again, exactly the same thing. But the reason I'm telling you this is that the Inns of Court, there were, and I don't think that it could happen today. There were enough people to produce their own cavalry regiment of the Inns of Court, right, that fought with Cromwell, that were honest and Christian, and said they've had enough of the corruption, right? I'm being honest with you now. I don't think you'd get 10, let alone a cavalry regiment, right? I don't believe there is a single non-corrupt solicitor barrister out there. And what I mean by that is they have all, in some way or the other, been indoctrinated. I have never yet met a barrister or solicitor that stands up and says, I am English. This is English constitutional law. The subjects of the realm of England have rights. Never met one. In fact, they all say Parliament is sovereign, which it clearly is not, right? And even if you look at what Cromwell did, he did not make Parliament sovereign, right? He removed the corruption from the judiciary. He removed the corrupt CEO of the English monarch, right? So the monarchy as such is a legal fiction, right? That's where that term comes from. If you understand what when they said, the king does not maketh the law maketh the king. That's because the monarchy is a legal fiction. The monarchy can never die, right? It's a legal fiction. It's a corporation, right? And everyone out there, especially these free-man of the land freaks, keep suggesting, I don't want to be part of a corporate. I'm not one of your corporate, whatever, right? What a load of bollocks. England have had corporations, right? And a charter is actually a corporate document in effect. And a corporation is the King of England and the Council of England, right? So they're like the chief executive officers, and the CEO is the king, right? Here's the kicker for you to understand, right? The CEO of that company, or the president of the company, if you want it that way, right? The president of the company, when asked to enact policy, right, is not allowed to. He is not allowed to abstain. He must assent or dissent. He cannot abstain. He cannot absolve himself from a law that is going to affect the rest of the people, right? So if you are truly sovereign, right, what makes you think that you've got the right to abstain from voting? If the CEO or the King of England is not allowed to abstain, and he's sovereign, right? Then your sovereignty is part of that, right? You haven't got the right to abstain. In fact, by abstaining is what's got us into this fucking mess in the first place. Because 75% of the people in Manchester didn't vote, right? Now, if I was to really go into one, which I'm not going to tonight, but I probably will tomorrow, depending on what I'm doing, right? I'll have a deeper discussion on this, where the free man of the land idiots get this so wrong, right? And why I believe they are corrupt to the core, right? Because although some people who listen to that nonsense come out the other side, so you get 10% of that mob, then start realising it's the Constitution that's the solution to all this, right? And I get it a lot of times, and they still say things that are wrong, and I don't know. You've been indoctrinated, and they've been indoctrinated the same way as a British barrister, lawyer, barrister, whatever, been indoctrinated by the state. They've been indoctrinated by the other side to come out of a complete load of bollocks, right? So I want everyone to understand this, right? The crown itself, the monarchy, the monarch, right? This, what Cromwell did was it was the same thing, but he removed the corruption of the CEO, which was the king, and he said you committed treason. So what you've got to understand is England itself, right, is the corporation, but every corporation has a mission statement, and the mission statement of England is the freedom and safety of the subjects of the realm, right? And you are the subjects of the realm. You've all got skin in the game. You are the shareholders. When you vote, right, you can take it in any direction that you want to take it into as the shareholders. And that executive have to do what you want, right? But what these free man of the landers have said is we don't want to be, we're not corporate, we're not under Admiralty law, right? Admiralty law is a separate element, right? But people really do need to understand this. You're the ones that can sack the entire CEOs. That means the chief financial officer, the chancery, the CEO, the king, right? The attorney general, right? The legal side of the actual law of everything. The solicitor general, right? You're the people that can completely take out that board, but you must vote. So in America, when I worked for an American company and went to America on many occasions, and I've got to be honest with you, I wished if I'd been with Janet then, I probably would have been an American citizen by now, right? Because they said you could come here, we'd get you a green card, you could become a citizen, right? I was well respected for what I knew and what I was doing, right? And for some reason, the American seniority in the company liked me, right? So what I'm saying to you is this. In America, they've got some, and they've got them in this country. I've spoke about it on the show before. In America, they've got something called, what was the word I used earlier? Employee owners, right? So every employee, and so our company spent 14 billion, right, in 18 months, building a global network, right? Telecommunications network. But every employee, and especially the engineers, right? So not but all of them. Every employee was an employee owner, right? But the engineers in particular were given direct access to the shares, were paid. So when you got a bonus, they used to say to me, they actually said to me, "You're not motivated by money." I said, "No, I'm not." They said, "Well, what can we give you?" I said, shares. I'm not interested really in money. I just love what I do. It's not the money that attracts me. It's the fact that it was the best network in the world at the time, the best data centers in the world at the time. It was the state of the art, bar none. Trust me, right? When I say the highest level technically in the world, with the best minds in the world, right? And I'm not just saying it; they were, right? They had an employee ownership scheme, right? So the people who work for the company and you know switched the midnight oil on. I used to work. I never sat in my garden of a house that I bought, right, for 4 years. Never sat in the garden. Never. Right, never went and sat in the garden, chilled out, went with I was always working. I had an office upstairs, and I was then on conference calls, even then, to America at 8, 9, 11 o'clock at night. I used to be in the office 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning. Right? The president of Europe, I don't mean the president of Europe, I mean the president of the company of Europe. There's 10,000 employees in Europe. I used to get in before him and leave after him. We used to go and have a fag together. He used to be ex-BT, and we used to just have a normal conversation. Like, I didn't have any airs of graces around him, and he didn't with me. He just talked to me because he used to be like a normal worker and built his way up. He was like a normal geezer, and I think he liked the fact that I weren't in there going Brady, right? I weren't like that. He'd come downstairs, you want a snack? I'd go back, and I'll come down 2 hours later and we'd go, we'd have a fag. Do you know what I mean? That's the way it was. I really liked him, and he was normal. He weren't a freak. So on the other side of that, what I'm trying to get across to you is they are the most successful companies. I think, I'm not sure, what company did I say it was today that operates that scheme?
You said M&S, but I know John Lewis do it.
It might be. It's either John Lewis or Marks and Spencer's.
John Lewis definitely do. John Lewis definitely do.
Well, John Lewis, right? So what you get is you get a different level of service from the staff. They will be, really helpful to you. Every employee is part of that company. That's what builds that company. That's what makes that company. If the company turned around and said, "Listen to all the staff, we've got to cut your wages," but the CEO has said he's going to cut his wages by this, everyone would go on in, right? That's the way the company operates, right? So
profit sharing. I do profit sharing.
Profit sharing, but it's not. The employee owners get a crack at the profit before the external shareholders as well. But everyone benefits from it, right? But you got skin in the game. So the reason I'm mentioning this, right, is because that's how we should operate as England. That's how we used to operate as England, right? But if you stop voting, and they go away from the policy of the company, who are the people responsible? The shareholders, the subjects of the realm of England, because you stopped, right? And then what they start to do, because they've gone away from their mission statement, is start bringing in new people to do the voting, right? Because you stopped voting. Next thing you know, the whole thing's gone. The company's gone. Right, and then Pakistani Incorporated says we're now taking over England Incorporated. You're now a defunct company, right? Push that out of the way. There's your replacement employee owners, and they're all voting. What are you left with? Nothing, right? So all I'm saying is these people have got it so wrong. It's dangerously wrong. Link from Western Supermare, well done. Celi Duart, the bishop, is also good. Let me have a look. English Constitution, yeah. Need to keep pressuring Rupert and restore, implement Hong Kong tax codes. Yeah, no, we do. I mean, I don't think he's gone anywhere near enough on his economic model. It's like they're frightened. And again, if he really thinks anything of Cromwell, Cromwell spoke of England, Scotland, and Ireland. People need to understand that. Let me have a look. Mr. and Mrs. Let's have a look. Anything else coming in there? Here. That's the most. Mike Bentley motorhomes. To make Bentley motor cars exclusively in Crewe, Cheshire. And Bentleys used to be Bentley engines and now German engines. I prefer the engines prior. I used to drive a Bentley. It's only cheap. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was nice.
Huh?
Nice, your Bentley.
Huh?
It was nice.
What was?
Your Bentley.
I know. If I showed them pictures of the Bentley, you'd all be going, wow. Let me have a look. And I'd love a Bentley again, but alas, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Volkswagen Group own Bentley. They do own them now. Again, we should never allow any of that. Who allowed all that to happen? Right? We as the subjects of the realm of England, as the shareholders of the Company of England, dropped the ball in a big way. You have been distracted, which should never have happened. That's the answer. Anyway, I am going to... Anyone got any questions? Do you want me to go into greater detail about that tomorrow night? Do you want me to sort of flow through it, do a little drawing for you, so you understand? Because I think people should really start... and again, the free man of land people will be freaking out because... And I can show you where they're talking complete and utter bollocks. They're showing... It's a bit like that geezer. I was at an event. And funny enough, I think Mr. and Mrs. English was there, and the geezer come from Cornwall, and he shouted out, and they were talking about flat Earth, right? And I was like, and they said, "What's your opinion of flat Earth?" I said, "What a load of bollocks." I said, "But what difference does it fucking make to you? If you're walking from one end of the street to the other and getting a bag of shopping and bring it back to your house, what fucking difference does it make to you whether the Earth is flat or fucking round? It is a distraction. Why would you even be talking about that, right?" But the second element, which was really important, he started talking because I said about telecommunications, and I said that if you have to have line of sight with the radio, otherwise it goes off straight out, right? Because of the curvature of the Earth, right? So, and then I explained it all to him, and then I said, like, you know, I worked in telecommunications, and he went, well, and then I think I mentioned submarine cables, right? Meaning subsea cables. That's what it's pronounced, submarine cables, right? And he went, well, them submarines, they lay the cables. I said, no, they don't. A big ship does with a big roll on the back. It's got nothing to do with a fucking submarine, right? And he started arguing about it. I said, listen, where'd you come from? He went, Cornwall. I said, I used to work in Bude Cable Station in Cornwall, right? I've been there, right? I'm telling you, this is how they lay cables. And a lot of the audience come up, and they was like, we're amazed that you've got this experience. And I said, look, I haven't got an experience in everything. It's the law and data telecommunications. I love data telecommunications. Do I love software? No, right? Do I love networks and how they operate and how they compete with each other and how you communicate? Right? Absolutely. but not. In other words, the transmission of data, but everything else drives me fucking mental, especially software. Used to make trains, boats, and cars, planes. Now import. Ray Edmonds. My son used to be part of the training program at Crew College before he got promoted. Mr. Mission English, which is also telling them that we're going to put up and shut up. Let me have a look. Someone say, Honour showed us how to get them criminals out of Parliament. Time for us to... Yeah, so just to make sure everyone's understanding this, let me have a look at this. M. Joycey. Let me just say, M. Joycey, are you a female? Unless you're going to be one of the ones getting up with a fucking gun or a pickaxe handle or a fucking axe, fighting your way out of this, I don't want you to be any part of this, right? Go back to your fucking idiocy, right? Not interested in what you're saying, right? I'm not here to persuade you. You're an idiot, right? Fuck off. I hope I make myself clear. I'm not interested in free man of the land bullshit, right? I'm not interested in fucking idiots, right? Not interested at all. Now, Oliver Cromwell is really important, right? Because it wasn't just a civil war, it was the people rising up. You may see a video of them just going into Parliament, right? It wasn't just about that. You're only seeing a fraction of what it was about. I would say the bigger part was the judiciary and the legal parasites, the legal corruption, right? Because once that as a separate element of the rule of the rule of law is one of the elements. Once it goes crooked, you're fucked, right? And that's what's happened now, right? That's what's happened now. That's why I personally believe a lot of these judges should be hanged in public, right? Because they've allowed it to happen. And they're all walking around with their £250,000 a year. These fucking high court judges, they need hanging. And it's only when they see the rope coming, they'll oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, fucking hell. Listen, if you want to say he did you, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and argue about fucking Jews, right? If you want to talk about Jews, fuck off somewhere else, right? I'm not interested in Cromwell letting the fucking Jews back in. They was already fucking here, right? And if you want to talk about it, let me just say this to you, right? Why don't you ask the fucking Scots how many was in Scotland? Because they was a separate fucking nation. How much fucking damage was they doing from that side? How much damage was they doing from France? You had the Jacobites and the Jacobins all being pushed in one direction. You had the fucking Jesuits coming at us from all sides. And everyone wants to talk about the Jews. The Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. It was the Jews. It was the twirlers. It was the funny hats, right? I'm fucking fed up with it. I'm fed up with the nonsense about the fucking Jews. The Jewish mafia exists, right? If you want to get them out of it, you have to honestly talk about them. But to keep referring to the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, when you will not talk about the Jesuits, right? If you want to come here and talk about the Jesuits and tell us how dangerous they are, then we will open our ears to you. But until then, the Protestants are under attack again, right? And it ain't the fucking Jews doing it. Who's that? I think we've blocked Ace Jace by accident. Who has? Ace Jace ain't blocked. The general inquiries. All I'm saying, if you want to talk about the Jews, there's plenty of places you can go and do that, right? I talk about the law, the real history, and the real history of what happened, right? Cromwell did not give Jews the privileges that everyone else had given them, right? He wasn't with a Jew, right? That is complete and utter nonsense. And the leftist politicians that enabled the the county to be sold out. There's so much to the history of all of this, right? And it's the indoctrination. And when people start, they're not even talking about the fact. You should be talking about the Fabians. You should be talking about the Jesuits. And I can tell you now, right? The Jesuits are far worse than the Jews ever was, right? Destroying England and our UK indigenous people. Jesuit didn't inflict usury upon our genuine land. I'll tell you what, fuck off. I'll tell you what, I'm not interested in who, just fuck off. Get off the channel. Someone ban that person. I don't want them on the channel. I don't want them on YouTube. I don't want them on there. If they can't have a conversation because they're so fucking indoctrinated and brainwashed, right? They're the ones causing the problem at the moment because they haven't got the peripheral vision, right? I'm not interested in indoctrination. I will talk about the Jews. I will talk about the Jesuits, the Fabians. I will talk about the Scots, the Welsh, the Irish, the fucking lot, right? But I'm not going to fucking sit there and say the Jews are responsible for absolutely fucking everything. I'm not saying they're fucking angels, because they're not, right? There is such a thing as a Jewish mafia, right? And it needs to be dealt with. Listen, let me tell you something now. Jesuits are more fucking dangerous than anyone else, and that's why this country banned them, right? And they've been banned from more countries around the world than anyone else, and especially more than the Jews, right? They are infiltrators in the biggest possible way. But if people don't want to listen to that, I'm not interested in indoctrinated minds. I'm not interested, right? There's plenty of places you can go somewhere else. Right, that is it. I am literally going to say to everyone, and especially to John Harding, thank you for introducing me to, what was it called? Bucks Mill, right, where I absolutely had a fantastic time. And don't forget, I had my eyes looked at today, and now I've got to take some medication. But anyway, don't forget what I believe in. Don't forget the Constitution is the solution, right? We should be talking a lot more about our own history, real history. I had an interesting conversation with someone today about the George Cross and why it isn't our flag and why people need to understand that. That's it. Bye-bye.